And
So the county would have to the not sure if I understand that. You mean that, so like somebody from the county would have to confirm that there was some kind of core service funding fraud or Medicaid fraud or double billing or upcoding or services not rendered that were paid for or something like that?
well, yes, and then we would explore, like the core funding is essentially it's how it's dispersed is through like a larger lump sum, and then they have the ability to spend their dollars. And so where I'm saying like someone at the county, it would be an individual would say, hey, we are concerned this individual did not spend this money because they get a large lump sum. It's like
Right,
an
the
allocated
block
sum,
grants, right?
and they can spend it how they would like. Um, but so, and what they do is with that funding, they're going to essentially code it how it with their funding.
Right, but if the individuals from the county are also potentially, and I don't know this for sure, but my suspicion is that the individuals from the county are also profiting. They're also like, obtaining some kind of pecuniary gain off of this, and therefore they're disincentivized from wanting to actually report, on this. I've got a criminal investigation started with the police, but I wanted to see what CDHS could do because there's a whole there's a myriad of different things going on that I believe CDHS is really needs to know about. And if you guys can't do anything about it, that's fine. But I think y'all need to know about it first and foremost.
And we're and kind of with that, looking at that, the procedures, back in the medical procedures or the dental procedures where they removed stuff. That was, we explored that, and I explored it. Like, what can we do?
Right.
At that time, and what do we have control? And by we, I mean the state of Colorado.
Right.
So just the way our system works is it's a state supervised, county administered. But what that just means is the state supervises, and we're supervising those larger macro items.
Right. The block grants that are going out.
Yeah, and it's like, so the individual, and I know you've made, and that's kind of where I'm looking at is with like the billing of how those items occurred. That would be maybe a GAL would have to look into that, or your respondent parent counsel, or whoever your individual as a representative would look at those actions at the court level, because we put in place, and we, once again, as the state of Colorado, we put in requirements for them to perform certain actions, and that's where we would get involved if those actions were deemed unnecessary and they performed something.
Right.
But when we looked at that, there was that in the medical necessity that was documented by a dentist, or it was a dentist for that. So unfortunately, I can't really push back on that, because
and that is one like branch of the. I mean, it went really deep. I went down the rabbit hole, not gonna lie. And I got into the Medicaid accounts for my kids, and I noticed that there's double billing, providers trying to bill for the same services twice in the same day. There was upcoding. I was court ordered to do a capacity to parent evaluation, which is upward of $5,000 potentially. The core service funding paid for that $5,000 whatever. But the service that was rendered was a parent-child interactional assessment, which was like a $300 assessment. So wherever that excess funding went, and that happened twice, that occurred twice in my case alone. And my thing is, how many other cases where the parents aren't as diligent is this happening?
Yeah.
And that would be something for the county commissioners to deal with. Obviously, they're the ones who, handle the contracts with them. But
and I think that's where kind of where I'm at with this is looking at this. I don't those local level case related billings or even practices. We would have to come in. There would have to be a red light that it's a continuous concern. And
Right.
we do our reviews, like a contract or court contract reviews, to see if there's like anything suspicious, like the amounts or overspending or anything like that. And I asked our core service specialists if there was any concerns. They didn't see anything at their level, and that's where it's outside of our locus because it's not drawing that attention.
Right, and they do they're very smart about it. I wouldn't ever have figured this out if I didn't, have red flags based on what was given in testimony. But at the same time, like, how are you supposed to know how many cases it affects if the records are so, heavily guarded? They're so confidential. It's very difficult for any one person or one group or oversight.
But what we would see is probably if they were overspending, there would be red flags. There would be lower numbers of clients that they serve, and then they would be trying to pull. I mean, essentially, these funds are pulled down from us, and then we would see this overspending pattern. We didn't catch anything on that, so don't think that I'm not looking into it. It's just like after doing my research and looking, I'm not seeing anything where I can move essentially like a formal investigation for it is what I'm saying.
Right. And on the face of it, it does seem legitimate. I mean, I went this whole time, these past 2 years, without questioning it. It wasn't until the nitty gritty details came out and I started to cross-reference those. And even that was difficult for me to do. I had to plug it into AI, just to cross-reference the fine details, things that I didn't know the definitions to, and then the numbers. So if that's what I would like to do is to help with the, the particulars, like, to work with somebody who, if they are overlooking something because it looks normal, I can be like, well, if like I had this, if somebody asked me some questions or sent me some kind of questions, and I could like take the time to go through and answer them in a way that might reveal a lot more or a lot deeper of information that I know from firsthand experience. I'm not going to be speaking for anybody else, that I recognize. And there are a lot. It's not just that. There's a volume 7. Like, they just threw volume 7 to the side. Like, aside from all of the financial, grants and stuff like that, the money stuff, that is kind of above my head. I'm learning as I go. I knew something wasn't right. And I figured that the only way that I could actually get some kind of oversight is, something that's not subjective to interpretation. Or, something that I, like, if I think something's wrong, somebody else might see the thing differently. But when it comes to money, if it doesn't add up, then it's not going to be, really debatable. So that's why I was trying to go with that angle. But there is so much wrong in my case that I couldn't get anybody to listen to me. Nobody would respond to me. Me trying to get my own records in my case, it was like going to war. They did not give me my own records in my case. In fact, I got information from the DA's office. I got more records from the DA's office about my DHS case than I did with DHS, and I asked incessantly. You could probably imagine how many records requests and appropriate requests for my own records that I persistently asked for, and I was stonewalled at every single turn. This thing, I knew it was rigged from the beginning. That's why I've been making so many complaints, because the things that they would tell me, the things that they would do, and the things that they would not do, just told me to my face, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much of your treatment plan you complete. We're never going to give you back your kids. And that's not how child welfare is supposed to go. And so I just don't know what to do. If there's no oversight, then, you could just tell me that and I'll find another way to get it addressed. But like, I just
Well,
wanted you guys to be aware of everything that I'm doing because I'm transparent.
yeah, no, and I think my thing is I don't want to essentially like give you this false hope that we at the state don't have that ability to impact the like overall outcome of a case, because that's really essentially, and you're a smart individual, you know this, the judge is making the decisions on what they would want to see, and it's a reflection of the court, of the reflection of the county's recommendations through their documentation. And that's kind of where I look and I search things, and what I'm not seeing is I don't see anything that has created me the ability to really where it would be is the lack of documentation doesn't support the actions, and their actions are supported by their documentation. And what you're saying is that their actions are supported, their documentation is supported by fraudulent information.
Yes, falsifications.
And that's where, for me, it's looking at this, 100-yard or 1,000-foot view is our system is set up where we trust those counties, and we essentially have so when we have in trails, what we have is every time you enter into trails or you enter something, you're essentially signing a confidential agreement that the information that you are putting into trails is not fraudulent, it is confidential,
right? And
it's best. And so
I do have a trails entry from the day before my children were taken, where my ex-boyfriend, who me and my children were protected from by protection order, he was serving time. He called the hotline to report me. I hadn't seen him or talked to him in over a year at that point. And the very next day I was ambushed by the police. My children were taken and given to him and his family.
Yeah, and I know we looked at that, and what is great about our system, but which is also can cause some hiccups, is that anyone has the right to report, no matter where they're at. Anyone can make a report. Whether we can't really hold individuals accountable for what may be deemed as a fraudulent report, because of our system and it being a public serving process. We want to, once again, we're taking it as that individual's intent was to ensure the safety of children. I can explore back to that, but I think what we both kind of know is your case has moved on pretty extensive. So even with that information, I don't think I could have any real truly impact on what you're trying to achieve.
Another thing is that my other ex, the father of little Austin, who my rights were terminated to, he was coerced into relinquishing his rights. He's in prison in Texas. They didn't do any relinquishment counseling for him. I didn't know that he was relinquishing his rights until he did it, and he spoke with me on the phone about it. Nobody spoke with me about this at all. He didn't do relinquishment counseling. He didn't write an affidavit. He didn't sign his relinquishment that they FedExed to him overnight. He didn't sign that in front of like witnesses or anything like that. There was nothing. They just told him what they told him to make him do that. And when I filed, like, hey, this is not right. You're violating, 19.3, whatever it was. And then volume 7, and I listed, all the regulations and all the statutes that they just ignored me. I didn't even and I was pro se. Like, I fired my ORPC attorney a long time ago, and, I was filing into my case. The judge was, a DHS attorney, I guess the Mesa County Attorney's Office had walked themselves off the plank sometime last summer. For whatever reason, they didn't say why, but the entire Mesa County Attorney's Office withdrew from the case. And then they got the Rio Blanco County, that's like 2 counties over, the Rio Blanco County attorney to represent them. He came onto the case, and this was at the same time that Judge Robeson had retired. She was replaced by Judge Lawrence. And so everybody was new at the same time. I got a new caseworker, Catherine Liptrap. They had a new lawyer, and we had a new judge. And so the very first time that we all met together, Judge Lawrence was like, "Oh, Mr. Stearman, I know this is a personal question. Do you know a Sony Stearman?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's my sister." And she goes, "That's my best friend. I love her. I think the world of her." And I'm like, I didn't even catch that at the time. It was on the record though. And so I'm seeing how this is not fair. And there's no fairness at all. If, like, I have no voice, I had no rights, I had no ability to change the situation. Whenever I did speak up, I was ignored and laughed at, and I was bullied throughout my APR and TPR hearings. The judge didn't even allow me to show up at my TPR hearing. She kicked me out of it. And I hadn't said anything. I wasn't even allowed to testify. She blocked me from appearing and testifying.
Unfortunately, I don't have any.
I know. I'm just trying to like give you an overall view of
your experience. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, what happened. And so just so that you can look at it from a understanding that there is a lot of impropriety going on that I had to sleuth out on my own, and there's probably so much more that I don't even know about yet, but you know what I mean? And so I don't know what to do. I don't want to give up. I can't give up, but this is so wrong that it's frustrating.
Yeah. And I can definitely hear your frustration, and I marvel at your continuous due diligence to, bring it to our attention. And,
right.
We have conversations. I mean, I'm going to actually have some conversations with individuals to talk about certain things that maybe we can look at and, the larger systematic impact.
Right, to make sure that this doesn't happen to other families.
Yeah, and I don't want to be like, I can't
I understand.
change. And there is always light at the end of the tunnel. I know this has been a tough one. Well, this is just kind of a statistic. I think hearing where you're at is even when there is no separations, just their separation only occurs, and our legal separation only occurs until 18. And what we see and where we move towards is that even how things have occurred and things that have happened, those families do reunite in a period of time. So I mean, that's really where what I can offer is that there is still hope. Don't think that it's over, because we see when these things occur that those families do come back as early as 13, 14, when kids are able to start making more decisions and have more self-protection ability. I think we're able to move things forward. So, I mean, that's all I can provide, but I'm going to explore some things. Really where I want to look at is some of this core. What is our processes in place? Expand more of how do we ensure that if there is spending that is a larger lump sum, what are our processes for establishing red flags?
Right.
And then
also ensuring that the contracted service providers, I mean, they want to keep their contracts. CHS in Mesa County has a very contentious relationship with the contracted service providers who offer neutral reports, unbiased, impartial reports. They're at risk of losing their contracts if something can be put in place in the future, if something could be, suggested or, developed that can ensure that, there's no retribution for the service providers who do their jobs impartially. I think that would be really important.
So an impartial contracts.
That's one thing I had.
And I think also bringing this to a lot of this, I'll bring to the county's attention. Just kind of how you stated this, being like, hey, because I don't want this. I don't want when I meet with the county to be like, you don't feel this way. This wasn't your experience. I do want to essentially capture what your complaint is. But as we've seen in the past, some of these items they're at the local control, or they're above the influence of CDHS. And where I mean on that is a lot of what you spoke about was judicial process,
right.
Court processes.
Right, and I'm dealing with that on that end.
The county, once again, does have that ability to influence a change of venue or, something in that way. But unfortunately, if it's not, they don't deem it a conflict of interest, well, I can't make that determination.
Right,
so.
I didn't even figure that out till I saw the record late in the game. Yeah. So, but I think what could be gained from all of this is to, I would like to help, suggest things. I've suggested a lot of things to the ombudsman. I've talked to them extensively, and I do have a lot of ideas. I don't want this to just be like the horrible tragedy in my life. I want to help other families by, using what went wrong in my case to suggest ideas of what can be developed to protect families from having to deal with the same kinds of things. And I have so many.
Well, and I know we look for family voice, and there's a family voice council.
Mm-hmm.
I can send you that information.
That would be great.
I don't control that or necessarily have the ability to hand choose or select individuals, but what I'll do is I'll send you that, because I think as an individual that's been through this process and may not have had the desired did not have the desired outcome they want, potentially having that ability to influence potential changes and potential practices sounds like something you would be interested in.
Yes.
So on your email that I have, I will send you that family voice information, and it's just really going to be the generic website, but it'll be the link to kind of start from there, because that is one venue that we do have at CDHS, because we do want to hear it, and that's not just for child welfare, that's for all practices.
Yeah, that's definitely something.
Do you have anything for me? And I don't, I know you and I have talked numerous times, and as I said, and I've had individuals take a look at the case, because I feel like sometimes I, as an individual, need to step away from it and have someone else and look at it to make sure I'm not missing anything. And I've done that. I did that the last time. To see if there was any concerns I could explore or any different paths I may be able to look at. So I may have someone, I may have our core individual, our core service specialist take a look with some of your concerns. I've already asked them about questions, how we do things, but I may ask even more in depth around those. What is our structure for grading red flags? So,
okay.
If I have any, I'm kind of in the beginning, towards the middle of the process, because I did explore your case. So what I'm going to do, let me see. What I'm going to do is do what I'm going to do is I'm going to explore real quick your explore potential other avenues, and then if I need any additional information, I'll get back to you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for bringing this information to my knowledge, and then what I'll do is I'm going to meet with the county as well, and then if I need anything else, I will let you know. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. If you can send me that family voice, I'll explore that, and then get a hold of me if you need any more information or want to relay anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bozak.
Bye.